People buy stories, not products. So take them on the journey and you will see your Stripe start to get those sales in.
But focus on the challenges and how you overcame them. Your end goal doesn't need to be perfect, and your circumstance doesn't need to be the ideal. It just needs to be real and authentic.
Welcome to the Social Edge podcast. I'm Isho.
And I'm Georgia.
And today we are exploring why storytelling beats selling.
People buy from people. They don't buy products. And so stories are your way to get your message across to your audience. So we're going to dive into this today. I'm excited to talk about it.
Me too. We've had quite a few of our people from our audience and some of our prospective clients that have kind of been asking this question a little bit. How do we convey our story and our business to convert people into sales? Obviously, this is something that I think we as eStudios, we've nailed down a little bit more in the last couple of years. And as we always say, we've never arrived and we can always kind of innovate and become better at it. But today, I think our opinion and some of the thinking that we have could perhaps inspire and unpack this conversation for people. So, why does storytelling connect more than traditional selling with people online?
Yeah, so I love this. I think this is a great topic. It's very now, and there's a lot of stuff out there on social media about this. But we want to tap into why we feel storytelling works on social media as a way to convey your message. Yeah. And I think, coming to your question, I think one of the key things is authenticity. We touched on authenticity in a previous episode. But it's about having that emotional connection with your audience. Absolutely. In a digital world where there's so much content out there, where you're trying to grab attention, if you can connect with your audience on an emotional level by sharing a bit of who you are, then I think that can really help in getting your message across so that you can then lock people in and, hook them into you.
That's it. To what extent should people let their audience into their life? Just I want to touch on this a little bit because we're talking about emotional connection. And you touch on this a little bit in one of our previous episodes, is like you can really bring people behind the scenes into your life, but as much as you want to. You don't have to unpack the whole background and every single aspect of your life, right?
It's so true. I think it's really about curating what you feel works for you. Now, it will be different for every person and it will be different for every business. How much you want to bring people behind the scenes is like completely your choice. Just because you have a brand, just because you have a presence online, doesn't mean you have to share every little detail. Okay, let's just give an example. Yeah. Remember back in the day when people would put statuses on Facebook and they would overshare?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
And
that was
I'm sure people still do this, but it was like, but even still, like, it probably wasn't you. It was probably some person, they would put something on Facebook. It would be like complete OTT. Yeah. And there's an element where it's like, actually, do you want to be sharing that much information with the world? Now, some people weave this so carefully into their personal brand, i.e. they do overshare, and that becomes part of them. That's their online presence, and they are oversharers. Yeah. But you really can choose how much you put out online. Absolutely. So sharing your story and doing like a storytelling technique can still be strategic in what you put out, the kind of content you share. So you can have that emotional connection. You can bring people along the journey, but you can be clever in how much you want to put out. Right. It's all about making your content a little bit relatable.
Relatable, for sure.
So making people feel that they can connect with you, whether you're a business or a person, like with a personal brand, you can still make yourself seem relatable to your audience online by the way that you bring people in that journey. And storytelling is just a way, and we'll come into this in a little bit, but storytelling is a way of sharing your experience, your journey, rather than like tip style content, which is like, hey, let me give you so-and-so tips.
Or
instead,
do this and,
you might be like, hey guys, I want to share with you something that happened with my team. Share the story and then give the feedback. Like, I remember, this is funny actually, I haven't tested this on social media, but I bet it would work. So when I was practicing for interviews, when I was training to, or wanted to become a lawyer, I was trying to apply for what's called a training contract. It's like so hard to get, like these training contracts when you're a university student, like they're like gold dust. And I remember in my class, they were like, stand up if you are in this room. It was like a class of 400. Stand up if you want to become a lawyer one day. Whole room stands up because everyone's studying law. Okay, about a third of you will make it. It's like, that was how ominous it was. Okay, so these things were like really hard to get.
Yeah.
One technique I refined for answering questions in an interview was something called the STAR technique. Situation, task, action, result. So when you're telling a story of like an answer in a question, you would use like this STAR technique.
Yeah.
Now, basically, I haven't tested this in a storytelling format, but it's kind of the same thing, right? When you're sharing a story on social media, you're telling someone the situation, the task, or what you encountered. What did you do to resolve that? And what was the result?
Yeah.
So by bringing them on that journey, you're giving them this like highs and lows, and you're coming forward with like a more curated answer that actually people can resonate with.
So the process, right?
You're sharing the process.
Yeah.
So I feel like storytelling can work no matter what you're trying to share, because it's a way of bringing people on the journey with you rather than just like giving them the end result, you know?
Yeah.
That's maybe where sometimes, like, if you're just going in hard selling, end result, people have missed all this context, and then they don't feel like they've connected with you. So that's why storytelling can sometimes really work 100%. As a great tactic. But you, like we just said, you can really choose what you share and how you share it.
That's it. And I think what this makes me think about is the consistency in which you do that. I think we touched on relatability. Once you're relatable once, people need repetition. So there was a study a while back made about how quickly people adapt to change of process or context or whatever it may be. Usually it's between 7 to 14 days for people to even acknowledge that you've made a change, and 30 to 90 days for them to adapt and really be up to following the thing that you're doing, which is wild, right? So how important is consistency when it comes to creating relatable content?
The thing is, if you're going to start creating like storytelling content, I think if you were to just do one storytelling video and then you kind of stop and you go back to like tip related content, or you go back to like other kind of content, then you're not really going to continue to bring people on that journey. Whereas if you're going to like start producing this content on a regular basis, not maybe every post, but like once a week, you know, people are going to start to like tap into like
wait for it, they're looking out for it,
and they're going to feel like they're on the ride. Another way of sharing storytelling sort of style content is through your stories on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook, because this is like there for 24 hours. It doesn't need to be so polished. You can just like, hey, I am doing this, that, and the other. Also, like, even just sharing like where you are and like little updates is a form of storytelling. So like, you know, like when you go to like a restaurant and you're like, boop, here I am at the restaurant, this is what I'm eating, and love this meal, or tag the location. You're kind of storytelling because you're bringing people along the journey.
Maybe some people have been to that place, they can message you and say, hey, I went there last week, and you can begin a conversation.
And now from a business perspective, it's like you can do behind the scenes like team days, you know, like here we are here, or we've just been to this expo, or we've just been to this event.
Takeaways.
You know, so that's a form of storytelling in a like less, like not focused on video, instead just focused on like sharing photos.
And you can make it exclusive, right? Because you can post stories to all of your followers, and you can create close friends groups, right?
Yeah.
So if you want to really create a niche down, and this is the important part we talked about in one of our previous episodes, niching down is identifying the people that you really want to target with a specific piece of communication that they might convert through, you know, or begin a further conversation in your sales process or your funnel, whatever it may be.
Yeah, or even your broadcast channels, because if people have joined your broadcast channel and you're a personal brand or you're a business page, they've already committed to wanting to know more about you. So if you're sharing then particular content to that group, like more storytelling vibe, you're already like resonating with like your intended audience anyway. So, well, you should hope, because they've joined that broadcast channel. So it is a nice way to connect with people, to give them that kind of more, it can kind of maybe feel a bit more personal.
Oh,
like
well, 100%.
that kind of content?
I have a couple of broadcast channels that I'm in at the moment,
Mm-hmm.
and one of them is about leadership. And the owner of the broadcast channel often would drop really unfiltered voice messages. Like legit, like super raw. Hey guys, just on the metro going to this thing, just had this thought, and he will share.
Yeah.
And it would almost be like when my friends drop me a voice note and say, "Hey, Ish, I've been thinking about this."
You
blah, blah,
felt
blah.
like you had that connection.
Oh, straight away. And I know next time when the notification pops up, I'm not gonna swipe and clear. I'm gonna click and go, "Oh my gosh, well, I wonder
Yeah.
what the thought of the day is today."
And I think as well, when people are giving that sort of like laid back content style, it can help build trust and credibility anyway, because it's very easy for someone to stand in front of a teleprompter and film some content, but to have like an open conversation, like open dialogue, or like just like a quick video, like a live or a story, and you can tell it's like a little less polished, it can build that sort of level of trust, because you're like, oh, this really is who this person is, or this really is what this business stands for, and therefore maybe it can help your audience connect with you and your business and your brand in a deeper way, and like it's adding like that deeper level or that deeper layer to their sort of resonating with you.
So how important is building trust? I think this topic is often overlooked a little bit by businesses, because everybody thinks, oh, well, trust is there. You know, everything we produce is trustworthy. But how important is it when it comes to content creation and what you're posting? Because often people post a lot of content, then they think it's authentic, it's relatable, it's their vulnerable side, but actually they're living a dual life. What they're saying to people, you know, all the guarantees, all the promises, all the big things, but actually in their
they're not living up. The
That's
thing is, we touched on our previous episode about cancel culture, which people can go back and watch if they haven't watched that yet. We touched upon like how we feel that it's important that people have the ability to evolve. You know, humankind can't keep developing unless we have the ability to keep evolving. And so there's room for growth. So there's room to change, there's room to evolve, there's room to grow. Like our social media content a year ago, 2 years ago, compared to now is so different, because we as a business have evolved and grown and developed. And yet, I think when it comes to your question about trust, as long as people are not being inauthentic, i.e. like outright lying, it's fine to have an opinion and for your opinion to change. It's fine to develop and grow. It's fine to get better. It's fine to change your approach. It's fine to change your mind. But I think if you are out there putting out content saying X, Y, and Z, and it's just like a complete lie, you are at risk then of the truth coming out, and then you will look inauthentic, and you will lose trust, and you will lose credibility. So therefore, like, I guess it's more about, it's not so much about thinking about getting it perfect all the time, or not being willing to like have an opinion, or being willing to put yourself out there or change. But I think if you are putting out some kind of content, for example, that says we've done X, Y, and Z, and you actually haven't done that as a business,
it will catch up with you.
It will catch up with you, or people are just going to think this doesn't really add up. Like, so that's what I would say.
And I think one of the key takeaway I think here to get practical is people can do that through perhaps testimonials or the current clients that you're working with, people that have had a great experience with you. Because here's the thing, retention, we're talking about selling people into your package, but once you sell people in, then the mindset shifts from bringing them in to then retaining them. And it's one of the most difficult things you could do. You know, shout out to our team at eStudios. We've had, very high retention
some
level
clients
throughout the
with
years.
us for years.
Very long time. So it almost, you want to think, oh, wait, my clients are also following me. So what I say, they will probably look back, and they're in the Slack channels internally, they can see how we are. So it's really important for you guys to convey your message in a way that is authentic, not based on what you say, but based on the experience your clients or the people that have worked with you have had. I think that will speak louder
absolutely. I think you're so right. It's so important to keep developing, keep growing, bring your new followers on the journey and hope that you're going to bring them in as a client, but also be mindful of your current clients and the fact you're trying to retain them. And therefore, like, don't go selling the world to social media, which you can't deliver because your current clients might then turn around and go, hang on a minute.
Yeah. Wait a second.
Wait, you've never told us that you can do this. And then you go, oh, well, actually, we actually can't do that, you know? So I think trust and credibility is so important. You have to build it. You have to build it. That's the thing, right? You build trust and credibility like building blocks.
Yeah.
So you can't expect to, like, for example, if you just come out on a platform, you have like just established your personal brand, or you're a new business just getting started on social media, you can't expect that to come all at once.
Yeah.
And that's where your content and a well-organized content strategy will help you to position yourself as someone who is credible, as someone or as a business that is credible, and someone who can deliver value. When you build those blocks, then you then become a thought leader. You then become a business that people can trust. I want to like talk about this in relation to something like a business. So I was looking into like a 9 Bing. Have you heard of it? It's like a fashion house. So most fashion houses, like, you know, fashion brands, are like well established over time. Like when you think of some of the brands like you're wearing right now, New Balance, Ralph Lauren, like, you know, different brands, some of them have been around years and years and years and years. It's quite hard to like launch in the fashion space, full stop, right? Because like
you have a level to hit, right?
You have a level to hit. There's already like this huge thing. And then like you do get new brands popping up, but like for them to sort of reach that level as like being like, so you've got like high street brands, shops, then you've got like fashion houses, like they're that step higher. Now, a 9 Bing basically launched in 2012 and they're already a global fashion house. That's quite impressive in the industry because it's quite hard to come up that fast. Now, it's really interesting, like their story and how they've been able to like grow. She built an incredible personal brand where she obviously was like a fashion icon, I suppose. And she launched her personal brand off the back of that, which sort of merged like American and Scandinavian style. And obviously it's like super wearable fashion. And it's like, it's obviously resonated with a lot of people and it's very in, it's very trendy, it's very cool. It's very, what we were talking about, capsule wardrobes. It's like standard classic pieces that you can like wear again and again. Now, why am I talking about this? The thing is, people resonated with her story and they trusted her as like a fashion icon. She had an established sense of style. She then bought out her fashion brand and it just kind of went boom and took off. And it's become a global fashion house. If she'd not been like credible in the first instance, i.e. like she wasn't very fashionable, she might not have taken off as fast as she did, but she was obviously someone that like was really followed, a huge social media presence, and people sort of like were already invested in her as a influencer before she even established the brand. So I just think that's really interesting to think about in terms of this conversation. So like we're talking about storytelling and how like people can share their stories or use storytelling content to connect with their audience and then use that to sell their business. Well, that's really what she did.
I think, what stood out to me there is that actually the fact that she did it in that way created longevity for the business. We talked about this in one of our previous episodes. Again, is, you know, creating content, you have to think about long-term success of your personal brand, of your business, because if you can't sustain it or if you can't continue to pour into your craft or your expertise, if you have a limit, eventually the cracks are going to show. You're going to be able to see that. And, you know, we're not saying you can't continue educating yourself or becoming better and evolving. We're not saying that, but there's a difference between you evolving and developing and having an expertise and a natural sense of, oh, that is naturally who I am and how I'm gifted in that. So I can always have something to draw out of. You know,
Yeah.
if I'm a graphic designer and naturally I could see a design, a graphic, I can make it better out of, that's just the way I am. You can do that. But if
Yeah.
I'm not, you know, it might be a little bit more difficult to go and have to research. And, you know, for somebody that might take them, I don't know, 20 minutes to work on something, for somebody that isn't gifted in that might take them 3 hours, right?
Yeah.
In that sense.
And I think this pivots into like another question.
Yeah.
And I want to jump to this question because
Let's do
I think it makes sense right now based on what we're saying. So can a brand or a business be a storyteller, or is it just like individuals and influencers? What do you think?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. 100%. But I think it always comes down to the fundamental of the story or the journey.
Yes.
You being able to recognize it yourself. Now, we often encourage, you know, our viewers or our prospective clients to think about their vision, their mission, their goal. Before you communicate anything, you really want to look at that and go, hold on, is this my cornerstone? Is this the thing that I truly believe, I understand from start to finish? Am I able to communicate this journey in my head? Like, do I understand what I've gone through to be able to then communicate it? Now, we don't have to get it perfect, but I think it's about, you know, developing in such way, you know, and we can help here with eStudios.
Yeah.
You know, we content create and strategy develop. So in a
It's
sense,
almost like what you're saying, I think, is like, what is the why behind what you're doing?
that's it, exactly. And it sounds a little bit like a cliche because, you know, when you start anything, you want to go, why am I doing this? But I think it's every brand has a story. Every person has a story. They have a journey. So it's communicating that, whether it's, for example, if we look at the brand's identity, we'll look at the founder's journey, why they started the company, or why maybe they took over the company, why they decide to change it or take this journey with it,
How
etc.
did they get to where they are?
Exactly. People don't want to hear the final product, right? They don't want to hear, oh, we're making this. They want to know, how did you get there?
Yeah, so I think for like our clients, some of them might have a question, which is like, if I have a brand page for my business, do I have to have a personal brand, or can I just only have a business brand?
Yeah.
And it's not that you have to have a personal brand, although we've just spoke about a 9Bing, and we have a lot of clients who have a personal brand and then their business brand, and the two can really complement each other because you can build the personal brand to be a thought leader, the reason, the why behind it.
Yeah.
It really then stems nicely sometimes into why they've launched that business, and the two can kind of like cross promote. So it is really good. And also what you were saying about longevity, like, it doesn't, like, people wear a 9Bing because it's cool, fashionable clothing. People follow a 9Bing because they love her story. They love who she is. And it's kind of like the two go hand in hand.
Yeah.
As it develops, the two will go hand in hand.
Yeah.
It's the same with, like, obviously some of the previous, like, big fashion brands. They all started with a person.
Yeah.
But then, like, so if we then look at, okay, maybe I don't want a personal brand. I just want my business to have a brand. So I guess the thing is, can you still have a story, and can you still storytell if you're a business only brand? And the answer is yes. It's just about communicating that story and almost humanizing the brand.
That's it.
So, like, how can you humanize the brand? You have to show people what is behind the product. What is the why? What is the reason? So a really good example of this is Red Bull. Yeah. So Red Bull
what an example.
blow up on social media because they focus not on like the taste of the drink or drinking the drink. What they focus on is Red Bull gives you wings.
That's it.
And therefore they focus on like high impact video content, like people jumping out of planes and like skydiving or traveling or running, like all this different stuff. And they build around like the feeling of what Red Bull can make you achieve. So they give you like this like hope and dream sort of element.
Even Formula One.
Formula One.
Racing team.
That's it. And then they sponsor things like high impact sports, Formula One, because it's about giving you wings. So it's like, yes, you can add a human element to even a business brand. Like no one knows,
Absolutely.
or like I don't know who the face of Red Bull is. I don't know who the person is who founded Red Bull.
Yeah.
But I know what the Red Bull brand means, and it does have that human storytelling element to it. Other ones that have done that is like Duolingo on
That's it.
TikTok.
Yep.
Ryanair, they did
That's
it on
it.
TikTok.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like a lot of brands have done a really good job of humanizing their brand, adding that storytelling element. Some of them infuse comedy, some of them like infuse like that kind of thing, like, you know, making someone convey a feeling. So that's really what you can do. If you don't want to have a personal brand, but you want to get your business seen and you want to use storytelling as one of your key content strategies, you can do so. You just have to pivot your thinking and how you present that.
I like that thought, and just as you were sharing this, it made me think about, the beginning of the question is like, do you have to have a personal brand? I think it helps in many ways if you ever wanted to step away and diversify from your from your business
so you
brand.
don't have to, but that's a really
It
let's
creates
unpack
doors,
that a
right?
little bit.
It opens doors. I think what I'm excited about in this is if, let's say, you're a figure of authority in the space of motherhood, right? For example, and you build that brand, and we also have e-studios.
Yeah.
If you eventually want to remove yourself from the business and became more of an authority in your personal brand,
Yeah.
you don't have to shift in any way. People already know, I know Georgia as somebody that has a lot of authority in this space and also in that space.
Yeah. So what we're saying is by having a personal brand, even if your business is focused in one key area,
Exactly.
say in the future you want to launch another business, or you want to launch products, or you want to launch an e-com, having a personal brand where you're an established thought leader or have like an established credibility, it can really help you by like, so for example, any of the people with strong personal brands and like those big presence on Instagram, it's very easy for them to launch whatever really they want, provided it sort of fits with their niche and it doesn't seem too off the wall, because they can leverage their brand and they can push people in that direction, and people are open to it. So what we're saying is you don't need a personal brand, and especially if you don't want to, if you don't want to be the person behind the camera, like that's some people's fear, that's fair enough. But what we're saying is it can help you in terms of having opportunities to pivot into different things.
Because, for example, imagine, let's say we have just these studios, you didn't have a personal brand or whatever, and one day you woke up and you thought, I'd love to collaborate with this person or this business, and you go, wait, e-studios doesn't really fit with their niche. You kind of can't, but you have the desire to. So it really creates that divide a little bit.
It does. And, you know, like I had a period where I wasn't growing my personal brand because I was in like a pivot transition stage. You know, leaving law, becoming a mum, establishing a business, just really figuring out my place in the world and really focused on the business. And I intentionally took some time out, and I didn't really want that personal brand out at that time. But now I've relaunched it. I did feel like at times I didn't want e-studios to be built around me as an individual. I wanted it to be shaped around our mission, our vision, our culture, our what we stand for, our deliverables. So I wanted the human element to the brand, and I wanted us to showcase ourselves. You know, we talked about in the past about employee generated content. So using the employees and using the team to help create the content for the business. But at the same time, I have so many times on so many occasions, like felt, if I had my personal brand, this is in the past, if I had my personal brand ready to go, it would have been so much easier to sort of like give this person, drive attention or give this person sort of like more credibility to why I'm the person that they should trust and why my business works. So I think for CEOs and business owners listening, I do think it can add an element of credibility, and I think it can support what you're already building. And it doesn't need to be your main thing. It can be your side thing. So like a lot of our clients, they come on board, we manage their business account, like the brand of their business, and then we manage their personal account, and we help them strategically weave the two together, like collaborate, cross promote, and we help them sort of create like distinct identities online for those two things that have some level of overlap. And I really feel like it does for like a few of our clients who are doing that, like not a few, like quite a lot of them do that. I think it really does support them as individuals in offering them room for growth. It also supports their business because it can help push traffic.
Oh my gosh.
And when it comes back to this whole topic, storytelling, they can storytell from their private account. Like they can share their story, and that can bring new people, like a different audience, which can push to their business. It can also develop that credibility. So that like if people find the business and then they go to the founder or the CEO's page and then they figure out what they're about, it can really help in terms of like bolstering their offer. And it's like you can go at your sales from a different angle from your personal account. So I really do feel like it helps. But that being said, it's not a needs must. Like we said, there's some big brands out there. Red Bull, Nike, New Balance, like big brands that have done so good and they never had personal brands attached to them. So
imagine how many, just talking about our clients, so many of them before starting their personal brand or investing time into that, had been leaving money on the table so much. So in a sense, the question really you should ask yourself is, am I actually leaving money on the table here? Is there anything else I have to add outside of my business related content that might look a little bit more like consulting one-on-one or coaching in some perspective, or doing high level consulting in some ways.
Well, this is the thing, like we time is valuable, right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
for some of these CEOs and business owners, if you're listening, you might have like your business and you've got like maybe a team operationally running that business and supporting with that. And your time's valuable because you're running that business. But like, what if you could, like you said, if you were to build your personal brand and then add a separate stream of income from there, it can still sort of pivot towards the business and you can still direct it to the business. But it can just be another way of creating another offering, and it can be so easily done. You can add it on really easily. But like, not everyone wants to be a coach or do that sort of stuff. But there's loads of things you could do. You don't have to be a coach. You can you can create like a spin-off offer, or you can. There's so much you can do, but you're so right. There's money left on the table if you're not doing it.
That's it. And I think at the end of the day, if we're just solely focusing on CEOs, but people that are really at a higher level, investing short amount of time into high level tasks, high level responsibility, eventually the more businesses grow, the less time that individual will have, which means that less time has to be spent at such high level tasks, whether that's content creation, whether that's one-on-one with clients, whatever, things that bring high level generated revenue, right?
Yes.
So anyway, but that's a different story. I want to unpack this with you because I think this is flowing nicely into just wrapping up the episode. We've spoken all about can brands create storytelling, how does storytelling connect more than the traditional selling. And I think let's get practical in the sense of you're launching your personal brand, which I'm really excited about because you and I have been talking for a little while about it. And since you've had Thea, there's so much more, I think, now that you have the opportunity to share with your audience. So considering that, how can businesses and content creators create stories that resonate with their audience? How would they approach that process?
I think it's about taking people on that journey. So you don't have to launch your personal brand as if you are the finished product or as if you have got it all figured out. And I think that might be a fear for people and might be one of the roadblocks or blockages that stops them from getting started. This fear of, am I going to do it right? But have I got enough credibility? Or, are people going to listen to me? But actually, if you sort of reframe that and think, my intended audience will want to hear something that I have to share.
They're following me, right? So surely.
And my journey is unique. We're all unique. We've all got different experiences. We're all shaped by our experiences. And you might have something that's worth sharing. And so I think in terms of like, how can you make stories resonate? It's really about not feeling like you have to polish it to be perfect, or like that you're the final version, or you have all the answers. Instead, you can take people on that journey of where you're going and really just share. That's what it is, right? When you click share, why are we sharing? We're sharing our experience. We're sharing our story. So don't feel like it has to be perfect. And I think one of the good techniques that you can utilize when you are sharing a story is not just only focusing on the positives and focusing on the good, but focus on the challenges and how you overcame them. So we talked about the STAR technique right at the beginning. Situation, task, action, result. Like what challenge did you face and how did you overcome that challenge, and how did you come out the other side? And your end goal doesn't need to be perfect, and your circumstance doesn't need to be like the ideal. It just needs to be real and authentic. And you can also use different techniques, such as like I said, like sharing your story in different ways. Like it doesn't always have to be video content that's like curated. You can use B-roll content and add like a thought. You can share stories, you can share snaps, you can share little thoughts of the day. Like you can just really bring people on that journey. So if you're struggling to get started, or you're just wanting to get started now, and you're wondering, how can I incorporate a bit of storytelling? How can I share parts of myself? How can I build that like credibility? Just be willing to kind of put out something that's going to resonate with someone. I saw a reel the other day actually, and it was like, people call it something along the lines of like, people say I'm lucky, or like you call it luck. I call it, but whilst I've been posting for 3.5 years consistently, whilst you've been scared to post, others have been scared to post, that kind of thing, right? So it's like, actually, I think like people who have good, strong personal brands will say they just started and they just kept going, and they allowed like the evolution of themselves to just sort of continue unpacking online, and they learned and they grew and they developed and they changed, and that's what they did, and they brought people along the journey. So I think if you're gonna get started, you don't have to be perfect. You can show that you're on a journey. You can show that you're just about to begin sharing, and you can kind of take people with you. You don't have to present yourself as the finished product, but everyone is different, and it depends where you're coming from, because also on the same note, if you have an experience that makes you credible, qualifications, success, you've done something that sets you apart, and that's why like the humanize concept of like the 10%, you have something that gives you that 10% advantage over everyone else, then you should talk about that with passion, with like use that to support you, to give you that credibility, but like you can still be authentic in how you share that.
Absolutely. And I think, in short, just really quickly to cover these again, I have them as bullet points here, is you can be the hero's journey framework. You can do, that's one framework you can use. You can be the hero or the figure of authority. Conflict resolution, show challenges and how they were overcome, the actual process, and then visual storytelling. Use imagery or videos to enhance narrative.
So what we're saying, I think, is if you can master storytelling, you don't have to sell as hard. You can use storytelling so that you are positioning yourself, positioning your brand, positioning your services or product, and make people want to come along on the journey, and then they buy.
That's it. People buy stories, not products. So take them on the journey, and you will see your Stripe start to get those sales in. So I think that was a great episode. There's more to come. There's a bunch of other videos. If you haven't seen them, check them out on the back of this one, and make sure to like and subscribe, as we'd love to see and hear how these videos are impacting your life, your business, or your personal brand.
Amazing. Thanks, guys.